at 3:45. But here is Jeff Howe, my conversation with him on the commitment of Arch Manning to UT.
What's the reaction been like for you?
Smokey, I've been in the Texas market covering recruiting for Texas exclusively since 2008. This is probably the biggest day we've seen. I mean, even the Quinn Ewers commitment. I mean, Texas has gotten some big commitments in that time, Garrett Gilbert being one of them. I don't think there's anything bigger than this, just because you're talking about the first family of football and the Manning family. And now, Arch could have gone to Alabama and been next in line there. He could have gone to the reigning national champions and uplifted Kirby Smart in that program on offense. But I think at the end of the day, two things. I think, one, the relationship that Steve Sarkisian had built with Arch, really, from their first Zoom call, they really hit it off. And then I think the other aspect of that is Arch. I think you look at Peyton's decision to go to Tennessee. I think even Eli trying to go resurrect Ole Miss. I think Arch really wanted to, in terms of carving out kind of his niche on that family stone, if you will, kind of do his own thing and make his own way. And coming to Texas and being one of the guys that could potentially help get Texas back to where everybody expects Texas to be, that's it. But no question, Smokey, I mean, it's the greatest offseason for anybody coming off of a 5-win season in the history of college football, and I think this is the icing on the cake today.
You mentioned Garrett Gilbert, who was, I thought, the best high school quarterback I ever saw, and obviously that did not go well, and they have Quinn Ewers. I know Quinn's going to play this year, Ewers, you think. Is it just find its way, or is Arch Manning, in your opinion, just going to win this thing straight out when he arrives on campus?
Yeah, I think in a perfect world, Smokey, I think what you would like to happen if you're Sark, if you're a Texas fan, if you got any kind of dog in the fight, I think you would like Quinn Ewers to win the job this year, take off with it, have a really good year in 2023, and then kind of let Arch Manning sit and watch and learn for that year. And then if Quinn Ewers leaves after the 23 season and is a high draft pick, then you hand it off to Arch, and your quarterback situation is where you want it. And hopefully by that time you've got the lines of scrimmage figured out and you're kind of off and running at that point. Malik Murphy is a high upside kid, Smokey, and Texas, they Charles Wright's a local kid, and they're still going to recruit quarterbacks from 24 and beyond. But when you've got a chance to get an Arch Manning, similar to when Texas got Garrett Gilbert, and you think about even when Texas got Vince Young, that pretty much cost Texas 2 years of recruiting a quarterback. I mean, Chris Lee, Kirby Freeman, Kyle Wright, they missed out on some big-time guys at the time because everybody knew what Texas had, and you kind of know the deal. It's a little bit different now because of the portal, and there's some different, and the quarterback thing is even more volatile now than it was even then. But this is a commitment, Smokey, where if you can get an Arch Manning, man, you take it and don't think twice and then sort everything else out after the fact.
I've seen video of him, obviously the number one player in the class of 2023. We know the lineage. What makes him so special?
I think, it's funny, Smokey. I think people say, well, okay, if he wasn't a part of that family, how good of a quarterback prospect would he be? But I think you have to take that into account because this is a kid that, from the time he came out of the womb has been kind of groomed in this quarterback family, like I said, the first family of football, to play quarterback. That's what Arch Manning knows. That's what he's been brought up to do. And he's doing it at Isidore Newman, where his family, his dad and his uncles both played. I mean, their family name is on the wall there at Newman. So I think you do have to take that into effect. I think just the unmatched pedigree is part of it. But when you watch him, the feel for it, the natural instincts. Like, yeah, you can see the velocity and the ability to change ball speeds and the feet and the athleticism and all that. But I just think the unmatched pedigree and the instincts that he has, the natural God-given instincts he has to play that position, it's off the charts. There's a reason, Smokey, in the history of the 24/7 Sports Composite rankings, there have been 3 quarterbacks, very different guys, that have had basically a perfect score by the recruiting industry. One was Vince Young, the other was Quinn Ewers, and the third is Arch Manning. And I think it just goes back to that pedigree and just those instincts that you can't coach that. You either have those or you don't. Who's got them?
Reason to have optimism, but they always have had optimism, and you know that, and everybody knows that, and it's almost sometimes unfair because of what people might project them. Is it out of control now?
It can get to that point, but I do think, Smoke, for the Texas fan base, I think there is an understanding of it's not an all or nothing deal in terms of looking at these two different things. I think the Arch Manning commitment gives you great optimism and a tangible reason to believe that this thing is about to go on an upward trajectory and stay there. We've seen times in the last 10-plus years where it looks like Texas might start trending in that direction, and ultimately it doesn't happen, or it trends that way for a little bit and then falls off. So I think the Arch Manning commitment is a tangible reason to believe that, yeah, this thing can go on an upward trajectory. But I think anybody that watched the spring game, anybody that's followed our reports at Horns 24/7 based on what this depth chart looks like, what this roster looks like, yeah, it's not a complete product, and there are plenty of blemishes on this roster. And yes, there is a great collection of skill talent at Texas right now, but they still got an offensive line situation that leaves a lot to be desired. Historically, the 2021 defense is one of the worst defenses Texas has ever had. So you take all that into consideration, I think there's an understanding that there is some work to do for Sark and the staff in 2022, but it's hard not to look at Arch Manning and then what's coming down the pike and not be really excited about where things are.
That's Jeff Howe from Horns 247, also the Horn in Austin on the Arch Manning commitment. Yeah, I thought what Jeff said a lot. He was realistic. At the same time, the momentum it does bring to the table. Baylor today, from Coleman out of Mesquite, Horn, a safety, a second safety that committed to them as well today. And DJ Coleman, that's a nice commitment for them. And so they got that today. And, of course, yesterday, basketball with Jacoby Walter. Anything to wrap up the Arch Manning? Our chat room's going crazy in good ways. Anything else on Arch Manning? And then we'll move to Mitch Thompson.
The big point that Jeff made, though, was whether it's Arch Manning or Quinn Ewers, you got to get some big boys up there to block for him. Once that happens, things might change for Texas. And, of course, they have to also get some big boys up front to tackle the other quarterback and the running backs from the other team. So once they get good up front again, I mean, like that 2005 team, everybody talks about Vince. Everybody talks about the skill players, remembers all those guys. But if you look at the recruiting class they had 3 years before that, it was chock full of defensive and offensive linemen, and that's what put them over the top.
Yeah, I just don't really want to gloss over DJ Coleman too much. That's a good get for Baylor. I mean, I know it's not the level of Arch Manning and what people are obsessed with right now, but I do want to acknowledge that getting the safety out of Mesquite Horn. So good for him to make his commitment. Obviously, he's probably feeling a little overshadowed today when he looks at social media. But, yeah, I mean, congrats to, again, I said it just a little while ago, congrats to Texas on getting a big fish. I mean, the biggest fish they've gotten since Quinn Ewers, I guess, and then before that since Vince Young. But, I'm pretty numb to them getting great recruits.
Yeah, it's not the first time they've gotten a great quarterback or great. They do get them, yeah.
I'm not going to pop confetti and have balloons flying and all that and act like this is the biggest day of all time for Texas fans. I'm sure in some ways it is, and I'm just one of those though that, hey, it's awesome. That's a great get. Their quarterback room is loaded. I'd hate to be Malik Murphy because he's just suddenly completely forgotten about, and I definitely know that we saw some. When he committed, it was this kid's this and that, and maybe not everybody was saying that, but I saw plenty of people saying that. Now he's a non-factor. He's already completely forgotten about, and so that's why. Let's just see what happens. Big day, celebrate your tail off if you're a Texas fan. I'm not taking anything away from that. But as far as what this actually means, we don't know, and we won't know anytime soon. But off the field, it's definitely going to build some huge momentum for them, and that will be great for them over the next couple of years.
All right. Also today, Baylor introduced their baseball coach. Of course, the news is a week